Okay. Hi, everyone. Heather here with astrologywithheather.com. I'm so sorry for the delay. I actually thought I was going live, but I don't do live videos. This is the first one I've done in a very long time. And so I thought I was live. I was talking to all of you. So even more mishaps. And so that leads me into what the heck is going on and what I'm doing with this live video. So if you're looking for my normal weekly forecast, this is not it. So basically, I'm going to be doing my monthly live new moon gathering, goal setting, and lunar month ahead forecast that I normally reserve exclusively for my cosmic community here with all of you on YouTube. And the reason that I'm doing that today, the reason that I'm doing that this month is, well, two different reasons. My forecast for the new moon in Taurus went completely off kilter. For those of you who actually watched it before it got pulled down, that first 2,000 people, the sound actually went out right when I got into the forecast for all 12 signs, right? And hi, everyone. I'm glad that you're enjoying doing the live. I'm definitely going to be chatting with you guys over there too. But the reason I'm doing this is because the new moon forecast went completely crazy. And then on that same day when I had to pull down the new moon forecast, I did my monthly new moon gathering with my cosmic community. And it went super well. It was super fun. It just as always, right? And, when I went to go pull the recording and upload it for the community members to watch the replay, it wasn't there. And my backup recording did not get recorded either. So I was like, okay, well, I have nothing for the new moon in Taurus. What the heck is going on here? But basically, in my chart, Uranus is hitting my descendant, opposing my ascendant, and this new moon is squaring my midheaven, work, career, public stuff, what I'm doing out in the open, and my IC. And it's just been causing all sorts of weird stuff and a lot. I've been having so many tech issues and so many strange interactions with people. It's been truly bizarre. So I decided, instead of just being like, oh crap, and what am I going to do about this? I was like, let's do something different. So I decided, instead of remaking all these videos and doing all these things, I would redo the new moon gathering, but I would do it for all of you here on YouTube. And so you get to experience what we do in the cosmic community. You're going to be getting, first off, what we're going to be doing is going over the energy for the new moon in Taurus. We're going to be discussing some intention setting tools and tips and tricks for setting your intentions for the new moon in Taurus. And we're going to be setting our intentions together as a group. After that, we're going to get into some of the biggest energies for the lunar month ahead. And this is a good thing that it happened during such an active month that I had this inspiration due to the disruption to kind of pivot and do something different, because you're going to be getting insight into all of these big shifts, these big changes. This is a life-changing month for so many people. We have Jupiter moving into Pisces, which you guys already saw. I did a forecast for that. We have Saturn stationing to go retrograde and square with Uranus, big energy. And then we have a supermoon, total blood moon, lunar eclipse in Sagittarius this month, Mercury stationing to go retrograde. There's a lot up in the air. There's a lot that's going to be happening this month. So yeah, so it's going to be kind of an interesting lunar cycle. And so that's what we're going to be diving into in this video today. And so without further ado, I'm going to change my little setup here and change my camera angle. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Baz. NorCal Stacks. You've been having wild dreams. I have too, and my friend's here, and she was just telling me about all of her wild dreams as well. So it's an active time. Oops, there we go. All right, so I'm changing my location here so that way I can see you guys and chat with you guys better. Hopefully you can hear me all right. And I do have a little presentation for the new moon that I'm going to be pulling up, and for the charts for the lunar month ahead, or the biggest charts for the lunar month ahead. And yeah, so let's see who's in the chat right now. So how have you guys been feeling? So first off, before we even launch into the chart for the new moon, this new moon is highlighting this big energy we've been experiencing for the whole year, really, since January and February. But we've been experiencing this big energy over the course of the last month being activated by all of these Taurus planets running through of Uranus square Saturn, right? This Uranus square Saturn energy. And so this is an energy where problems come up, challenges, hurdles, things of that nature that cause you to have to make changes, sometimes really suddenly or sometimes kind of gradually, because what you're doing in the current moment is no longer working for you. It's also an energy where a lot of people are feeling very frustrated with their current circumstances, and that began earlier this year. And maybe you started to make that pivot, maybe you started to make that change at the start of this year, but even if you did, there are more changes that you need to make that are probably going to be coming up right now between the Uranus-Saturn activation and the eclipses, right? So how are you guys feeling with this? Are you feeling really frustrated with something that you realize now you have to change? Are you feeling, have you changed something and you're dealing with the aftermath and the chaos from that? Has it been more work than you thought it was going to be to make those changes that you want to make? Is it moving more slowly than you thought? Are you having problems that come up that cause you to have to pivot? And where is this happening in your charts? I want to hear from some of you guys. So let's see here. Okay, so B says, just want to sleep all day, lots of frustration. Aw, well, hopefully this new moon is going to be a point of release. I think it is going to be kind of this reset moment, or this moment where we get to ground a lot of the changes that we've been wanting to make into reality. And so it's kind of like this finalization of a lot of the changes that we've been working toward. It's a grounding it into something real, and it's like a fresh start. We've started to make these pivots, and it's like we have to commit to something now in order to move forward. And that's in a tangible way, in a practical way with Taurus. But that's part of this energy as well. A lot of people feeling scattered and distracted. So Shadow says scattered, distracted, and a little emotional, moody. Yes. If you're not scattered internally, the external circumstances might scatter you, especially if you have a lot of fixed sign energy. So if you have a lot of energy in Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, or Scorpio, you're probably feeling this more so than other people. And I happen to have all of my angles in those signs, which is why I'm here. Like I said, the Uranus is stationed, or not stationed, but it's sitting on my descendant right now. And I have the new moon squaring my midheaven and my IC. And so I'm having to make some adjustments because of some challenges. And that's been coming up all month now. So let's see. Lala says, feeling anxiety. Well, I hope you feel better. Yeah, Uranus is a very restless, anxiety-provoking energy. So I think a lot of people, are probably feeling that. April says, my husband and I are trying to build a house, been having really weird dreams regarding moving. That's definitely something to pay attention to, April, especially if you are a Gemini rising, or if you are a Capricorn rising sign. That would be something to pay greater attention. Or actually, no, a Capricorn, not a Capricorn rising sign. If you are if you're a Capricorn rising, or if you're and a Gemini rising, that would be something to pay more attention, or not. Yeah, a Gemini rising. My brain is, I'm having all sorts of weird glitches in my head too. I'll read a couple more of these and then we'll start getting into it. So Mark Anthony says, Schumann resonance is affecting the HSPS. What is the HSPS? Let me know about that. Mario says, Saturn has been moving through my IC. I moved to a new place and it's been more difficult than I thought it would be keeping my life afloat. Oh, wow. So hopefully, again, this new moon energy will kind of solidify something or help you to have a more concrete idea of what you need to do to make things the way that you want them to be in your home life moving forward. That's a big part of this. It's like, where are we holding ourselves back? Where have we taken on too many burdens, restrictions, limitations in our own lives that are preventing us from breaking free from stuck, stagnant, stale, repressive, oppressive energies? And how can we start working on letting go of that, or working on building something new? It's not necessarily that we throw everything out all at once and start fresh, even if we feel like we want to do that. You have to find a way to pivot. You have to find a way to, change the situation so that it works better for you and it gives you more freedom, or so that you're approaching it in a new or an innovative way. So Mark Anthony says highly sensitive people. Okay, that makes sense. HSP, highly sensitive people. So the Schumann resonance is disrupted for some reason. And so Mark says it's affecting highly sensitive people. Sherry says, hi, Heather. I'm excited because I've quit as a mental health nurse and I'm going to be a psychic tarot reader and a Reiki practitioner full-time instead, as well as taking your course. Aw, thank you, Sherry. I'm so happy that you're in the Cosmic Academy of Astrology. You're definitely in the right place. And it's got to be really tough working as a mental health nurse nowadays. I actually just met someone who does that exact work, and she was talking about how much worse it's gotten since, COVID. People are having more depression, more mental illness. The suicide rate has absolutely climbed. So I completely understand wanting to get out of that right now. But yeah, so a good time to pivot, if it becomes too burdensome and it's not the right thing anymore, this is the time. This is the time to get out or to make that change. So I'm going to pull up my little chart here. And before I do, I just wanted to kind of go over something really quick. I'm going to explain it in a little bit more detail than I normally do for my community, just because this is a new thing here on YouTube and I want to make sure we're all in the same place. But one of the things that I highly recommend doing when you set your intentions for the new moon in Taurus, which is happening tomorrow around 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, so you'll have to kind of look that up for your time zone. One of the things that I recommend doing is using physical objects and physical things, like utilizing the full sensory experience in order to set your intentions. And this actually creates certain connections in your brain that strengthens your resolve. It strengthens these intentions. It strengthens your commitment to these goals. It helps you to kind of solidify what it is that you're doing. And so I always, first off, like to recommend a Bach flower remedy to help you get through the month and through the energy that's coming up for the month ahead when it gets kind of crazy and disruptive. And so this one for this month that I recommend, and I had it with me before, but it's missing from my desk, is walnut. So Bach flower remedy, walnut. This is one of the best remedies to keep you grounded and emotionally stable, to give you that shell, that barrier, that hard exterior that you need to stay the course in the midst of change and chaos. And so this new moon is in a wide conjunction with Uranus. And so it's about, stabilizing in the face of change. It's about committing to this new path that you're taking or that you're working toward. It's about finalizing something that you've been making changes on. And this energy, especially with that Aquarius on the other side and that Saturn and Aquarius on the other side, Aquarius is all about, yes, doing your own thing, but it's also very concerned with the thoughts, ideas, feelings of the group, right? What's good for the group. And it can cause people to actually, with Saturn and Aquarius, restrict or limit their freedom of expression on their own due to social norms, social conditioning, or the opinions of people in society or people in their peer group, people in their friend group, things like that. And so this is a good energy or a good Bach flower remedy, the walnut, for kind of giving you that tough exterior so you can stay the course and make the changes you need to make without being sort of blown left and right and thrown off kilter by other, not just other people and their opinions, that's definitely part of it, but even like outside circumstances that come in to kind of disrupt what it is that you're doing. So that is my favorite. Oh, so Maria says she's a flower essence practitioner and walnut is an excellent choice. Well, good. That's nice and validating there. Thank you, Maria, for giving us your input about that. There's always so many awesome people in the chat. In the community, I don't usually do these lives, but even here on YouTube, you guys are so talented and so many wonderful things. And that's like my favorite thing about doing these gatherings is I always learn stuff and there's always people chiming in. So that's my first recommendation to help you get through the month. Oh, there we go. It's not fuzzy. Divine Feminine says, please smash this like button. Please do smash the like button for me. Thank you, Divine Feminine. But yeah, so the other things that I recommend for this new moon in Taurus are, I recommend using colors. If you want to light a candle that's a certain color, when we're talking about Taurus, we're talking about things that are material and that are physical. And so a lot of times people like to use the Taurus moon for beautifying something, or for material or money manifestation, or, however it is falling in your chart will kind of dictate the intentions that you want to set. Speaking of which, I do have a free PDF download down in the description below for you guys for the new moon in Taurus. This is the PDF that I give to my cosmic community for every new moon gathering. It has a write-up for the new moon. It has the full moon in there as well. It has the written forecast for all 12 signs, or the written areas of attention where you can set your intentions for all 12 signs, and also journal prompts for tomorrow's new moon. So that is a free resource for you. That's down in the description below. But yeah, so the other things that I recommend, the color green. So if you want to utilize something green, like green candles or something like that, that could be useful. In terms of like herbs or incense, a couple different things. So like myrrh, I really like for this new moon in Taurus, because it's very grounding, right? It's very earthy, and Taurus is a very earthy earth sign, fixed earth, right? And then the other thing that I think could be nice is if you're looking for more of the Venusian energy, you could use rose or rose petals or something like that with your intentions. But what I recommend doing is taking whatever it is that you're utilizing in terms of physical tools to set your intentions and putting it somewhere very visible throughout the month. And so every time you see that, you remember your intention, and it sort of triggers that energy and recommits you to whatever your goals are, whatever your intentions are, whatever it is that you want to draw in or create or manifest for the month ahead. And so that is my little spiel for that. And if you guys have any recommendations in the comment section below, or the comment section or the chat box, let me know what your recommendations are. So B says rosemary. So she likes rosemary. I love rosemary. I light it before I do all of these videos and readings and stuff, because it helps to bring mental clarity and knowledge, right? It draws in knowledge. Aiden says you can use angel number 808 for abundance. Oh, I like that. That's nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, let me know. And if you guys want to join in on these gatherings every month, again, I typically do this in the cosmic community every single month. And so you can find that there, and you can find a ton of exclusive content. We're doing a live webinar about the astrology of intuition, psychic abilities, and paranormal experiences later this month on the 29th. I have a ton of really great content coming out. And so let's get back into, I'm going to show you guys my little, get out in the forest and dig your feet in the grass. I'm such a hippie. I like that too. This is perfect. Yeah, go outside, be in nature. That's what we're going to be doing, actually. We're going to a really cool nature spot here. So let's get into the new moon in Taurus energy. So basically what's happening tomorrow is we have the new moon in Taurus at 21 degrees, and this is in a wide conjunction, but still a conjunction with Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so it's highlighting the Uranus-Saturn square, but it's not like the only thing that's happening, and it's not as strong. It's kind of like it's an energy where we've moved on from the chaos, the disruption, the new challenges that we have to face, the new structures that we have to create. Things are starting to become clear, but maybe it's really scattered. Maybe it's really all over the place. Maybe we don't have the full picture of what it is that we need to do, or maybe we haven't really locked in or committed to it just yet. And so this is the point of no return. It's like, we dealt with the chaos. We know what we have to shift, and now we have to create a plan of action. Now we have to solidify that. Now we have to make it tangible in some way, and we have to kind of reconvene and ground ourselves with this energy here of the new moon in Taurus, because Taurus is a fixed earth sign. It's the most grounded of all the zodiac signs, and Uranus forces us, because Taurus is about maintaining comfort. It's about maintaining what works and what feels comfortable. That's a big energy of Taurus. And when Uranus is a completely different energy than that, right? Uranus is about disruption. It's about doing things in new, innovative, exciting ways. It's about a little bit of chaos, right? And so what's been going on for a lot of people is that they've been forced to branch outside of their comfort zones, either because of internal dissatisfaction, internal frustrations, or external circumstances that throw them out of their comfort zones. And so like for me, I don't like doing YouTube lives. Very much out of my comfort zone to be here with so many people, you know, in the chat watching and things like that. I like to pre-record my videos. Small webinars, great. I do lots of live things in my cosmic community, but putting lives on YouTube, not my comfort zone, but I had a disruption and I decided let's do something that is not what I normally do, that's outside of my comfort zone. So that's what we're doing here today. It's like that, but like on a bigger scale for a lot of people where, you know, there's something in your life that you're wanting to hold on to because it's felt good for so long, but the challenges that you're facing, the burdens that you're feeling are causing you to have to pivot. So like our friend in the chat that just mentioned that she was a nurse, like a mental health nurse, and she's pivoting completely and doing something way outside of the box. That's a Uranus and Taurus energy, right? You're leaving your comfort zone to do something new. And this new moon is all about that. So whatever it is in your life, and you can look at that PDF to kind of get a feel for how this is showing up for you. But whatever it is in your life that you feel like you need to break free from, you need to change from, this is the time to set those intentions to move forward in a completely new, exciting, different way, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. In fact, the more uncomfortable it feels, the better. You still have to do it within certain conventions, and you still have to maintain awareness of the responsibilities that you carry. This is not an energy of just purging everything and throwing it all out, because Saturn, right? Saturn requires that you do things the right way, not the fast way, that you take your time, and that you uphold your current responsibilities. So if you have responsibilities you don't want anymore, you have to work on making sure that you let go the right way, right? So you're not leaving a giant mess for other people to take care of. That's a big thing too. And you're also looking at the responsibility of how is what I'm doing impacting the group. That's Saturn in Aquarius. You know, it's not just about what's best for you. It's about what's best for the good of all, right? The good of your peers, the good of your social circle, but the good of the group, the good of all humanity as well. So how are the choices and changes that you're making right now going to impact everyone else? Not just in your own life, but kind of in the bigger scheme of things. That's a really important thing to make note of and to think about when you're setting your intentions for this new moon. And this is also, like I mentioned when I talked about the Great Conjunction earlier this year, this isn't just about people who are here on Earth right now. This is a 20, 30, 200 and 800 year cycle. So this is about how is what you're choosing to do right now, how is that impacting your children, your children's children, your children's children's children? Like, how will this impact humanity for generations to come? That's another big question. And I know that's like a lot of weight for just like a new moon, but it's activating something that's a bigger part of a much more, it's a part of the Grand Conjunction, the Great Conjunction cycle. So it's bigger than just that. And the other thing too that you can kind of see in this chart for tomorrow that's happening literally right now is Mercury is conjunct the North Node. And so this, whatever's going on right now, whatever coming up for you, there are fated messages, there are fated opportunities. There are very literally going to be messages like people calling you, texting you, you getting like an email, a phone call, something along those lines. And it feels extra important. It feels like something you need to pay attention to. And this is going to start pulling you in a new direction. And this is going to start activating the energy of the eclipses. We're in eclipse season as soon as this new moon in Taurus happens tomorrow, because the full moon that comes afterward is a super moon, blood moon, lunar eclipse. It's a big one. So This is the first eclipse activation as well, not just because of the new moon, but because we have the North Node conjunct Mercury. And so we're getting messages from the universe. We're getting messages about the fated new directions we need to move into. This could be a very transformative period that could become something even bigger over the next couple of weeks, over the next month, really. Or 6 weeks, I should say, because there's going to be a new moon that's also an annular solar eclipse happening in June. And that's what we'll talk about in next month's new moon gathering. So it's a big energy, you guys. There's a lot up in the air right now. There's a lot that we need to solidify. And so I just wanted to ask you guys before we move on here, what are your intentions for this new moon? So let me know what your intentions are for the new moon in Taurus. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Bass. Bass says, I'm rocking it like a pro. So Ken says labor, manufacturing, switching social services, writing a book, starting a business, sorting out anything else that hops up. Oh my goodness, Ken, that's a lot of intentions. One of the things that can be helpful too, to just make sure that you actually accomplish your intentions, is choosing the one that's the most important and focusing on that. Because when you scatter yourself and you focus on 10 different intentions, your energy is divided between 10 different things. It's much more powerful when you have a singular focus. And especially with this particular new moon, it's in a trine with Pluto, which is one of the things I forgot to mention here, is that we have this really powerful new moon energy and a really nice trine with Pluto, which gives us a certain type of understanding or a laser focused energy that we wouldn't otherwise have for this new moon, because it has been so scattered. So this is like the point of singularity. This is the point of focus. This is the point where intuitively we understand what's going on, because we have Neptune actually in sextile with the new moon. But we have this like depth of insight and this precision and this focused attention that we can really harness with this new moon, that especially for fixed sign people, this is going to be very needed. So definitely utilize that if you can. Keep it simple, which is a Taurus thing. Focus on one thing and focus in like a laser beam on that thing. Okay, so let's see what you guys are doing here. So Marianne's going to change her job. Everyone's changing their jobs. Oh my gosh. Making money and changing your jobs. Okay. Let's see. Marianne's changing her job. Brianna's changing her job. Chellis is changing career path. Price Lease is opening an energy / art business. Chanel is making money. Oh my goodness. Oksana says it's happening on her Venus and she really wants to fall in love. Oh, that's a wonderful intention. I love that. So that one's a little different. And with the Venus energy being activated, I think that that's wonderful. That absolutely could be the case. Let's see. Honey York is packing, moving, and looking for work. Bobo wants to connect with her inner music muse. Prospera is finding a job that's right for me and others also. That's interesting. A lot of you, with this Taurus energy, again, it's about like material stuff, right? So changing something on a very material, physical level. And a lot of you are changing jobs. That's interesting. I love that. So yeah, Chris even says, I hope my career efforts give me a new job. Changing career path also. Waiting to change job. Wow, you guys, you're all just like paying off bills, changing your jobs. Like that's working more on your small business, Jen. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so Bass has one that's a little bit different. So Bass says, I want to build stronger bonds with my children. I want more warmth and deeper love. So changing your relationship with your children for the long term, right? To have a better foundation for the future. I love that. I love that so much. Okay, cool. So let's get into the forecast for the rest of the month and some of these other energies that are coming up here. But it seems like a lot of you are really feeling, the true nature of Taurus. It's about changing something very material, very physical. And a lot of you guys are doing that. And I just saw the number of people watching this, so I'm going to not pay attention to that. There's a lot of you in here right now. Oh my goodness. Okay. The pressure is on, guys. Outside of my comfort zone. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the other energies that are happening this month so you guys can know what's coming up and how to navigate. So the new moon in Taurus, it's happening tomorrow. Make sure that you do those journaling prompts in the free little PDF that I gave you. Set your intentions. Spend some time like really focusing, laser focus Pluto, on all of those different things you want to manifest, because everyone here is trying to change something with their job, change something with their work, change something with their business. I'm in the same boat. I'm working on making a lot of changes behind the scenes too. And so you pick the thing that's most important and focus on that. That's my best advice for this new moon in Taurus. But the other thing that's going on, of course, is on the 13th. So on Thursday, we have Jupiter moving into the sign of Pisces. So you can see here in this chart, it's at 0000. So 0 degrees, 00 minutes. And, this is a big energy. So I did talk about this in the forecast that I released on Thursday. So you can go back into my channel and get the full overview of what this means and the energy for all 12 signs. So I'm not going to go in depth into this right now, but I do want to touch on it because it's important. And so this is going to be a preview until July 28th. So just for like 2.5 months, this will be a sneak preview of the biggest energy that we're going to be experiencing, especially for the first half of 2022. But it's going to be taking hold and it's going to become more powerful at the end of this year, at the end of December. And so we're getting like this 2.5 month preview. It's only hitting 2 degrees in Pisces before it retrogrades back, and it goes back into Aquarius very quickly at the end of July. And so this is going to show us in all of our lives what we're going to be growing, what we're going to be expanding upon. And on a collective level, this is a renewal of compassion. This is a beautiful energy. When Jupiter is in its home sign, it's uninhibited. It's comfortable. It can do what it wants to do, right? It's not having to play by another planet's rules or another sign's rules. It gets to play by its own rules. And so it gets to expand on things in a very beautiful, compassionate, fortunate way. And so it's not going to have those barriers that it would otherwise have, like when Jupiter was in Capricorn, right? In 2020, there were some barriers to the potential benefits and expansion. Some people still saw some benefits, but it wasn't as grandiose as Jupiter would have liked, right? Because Jupiter wants to bring abundance and good fortune. It wants to just grow and expand and do what it wants to do in a way that's limitless. And of all the zodiac signs, Pisces is the one that I would say is limitless. It contains the energy, the potential, the archetypes of all 12 zodiac signs. It can be anything that it wants to be. It has an expansive imagination, an expansive creative potential. It has a deep understanding and compassion for everyone in all situations. And so that's what we're going to be expanding on, right? Our understanding of how we're connected to everything and everyone in humanity, our understanding of other people and their circumstances and their situations, this compassion. It's really expansive and wonderful for creative endeavors and pursuits. It's really wonderful and expansive for spirituality, mysticism, but it's wonderful and expansive for like wherever it is in your chart, right? It's Jupiter and it's doing some really nice stuff. So you'll start to get a hint or a feel for that on May 13th through July 28th. And again, after you're done watching this, you can go back and watch that video where I did a forecast for all 12 signs. The next thing I want to mention, and this is another big one because we're in eclipse season, is the second eclipse activation of this lunar month. And so we have Venus, which is transiting the sign of Gemini, coming into an exact conjunction with the North Node on May 17th. And so we have that North Node activation today where there could be a message, there could be an idea, there could be an opportunity, there could be something that comes up that feels fated. It's like, wow, this is like karma, or this is like this person that connected with me. It was like, it feels so important. It feels so synchronistic. It feels like it was meant to be. You could be getting messages in dreams, which I know a lot of you said that you were. And I know I've been getting messages. I have a friend here visiting. She's getting messages. We're all just getting dream messages all day, all night long, apparently. That could be a big part of it right now. But next week, Venus, right? What does Venus represent? Venus represents relationships. It represents connections with other people. It represents our love language and the way that we show appreciation for others. It also represents our self-worth. It represents, financial and material types of things like money, material possessions. It can represent beauty, and it represents especially our joy and the things that we find pleasurable in life. And so this is an interesting energy where there could be a fated turn of events that could come through our connection with somebody else, right? With somebody that we're close to, or a chance meeting or a chance encounter with another person. This to me feels very interpersonal and very communicative because it's Venus in the sign of Gemini. Venus in the sign of Gemini shows their love and appreciation through words of affirmation, right? Love language is communication, talking, telling people how you feel, sharing on an intellectual level, having good stimulating conversations. That's what Venus in Gemini wants. And so a fated turn of events, a new opportunity could come to you through somebody else, through a really stimulating, really enjoyable, really pleasurable conversation where you're like, wow, I'm in flow right now. I feel like the world has fallen away and all I can focus on is you and this conversation we're having. It feels so important. It feels so fated. It could also just be that you meet someone and that person feels familiar, or they feel important, or you feel like something is going on here that you need to pay attention to. And this could also be a fated opportunity to connect with something that, brings you a lot of joy, that brings you a lot of pleasure now and into the future. There could be changes in financial situations, not just on an individual level, but collectively. I mean, I could see this being like, especially in a community level, or in some sort of industry involving writing or marketing or transportation. I could see this being like a fated turn of events. And I would say it would be mostly positive. And this is also in a really nice trine with Saturn, which is a good energy too it's like a fated shift where you have to move in a new direction. It feels super important and you're like, I'm ready for it. But it's like you have to take it slow with Saturn. And it's also going to be something that's going to be really long lasting and very stabilizing in the long term. So that's what we're experiencing on May 17th. Another time where you really just pay attention to what's coming up for you. It's all about how it feels, right? When we have these eclipse activations and these North Node activations around the eclipse season or the South Node activations, if it feels different than a normal experience, then it probably is, right? It's probably part of this ongoing saga of the North and South Node in Gemini and Sagittarius. And this actually began, by the way, in May of 2020. That's when we first had this shift of the nodes. And we've been developing something new in our lives and letting go of something old, but also revisiting and harnessing talents, gifts, opportunities from the past, and, doing it in a new way to kind of propel us into our future trajectory. And this has been going on ever since that time in May. And then we had that first eclipse season last summer that activated it. We had another eclipse season in November, December of 2020 that activated it. So thinking back to those time periods, the changes that were coming up in your life and how that's showing up in your own chart, that's going to give you a clue as to what's being activated right now in this moment, what's being activated on May 17th, and what's going to be activated with the eclipse that's coming up. But before we get into the big event of the month, the biggest event is absolutely that eclipse. I do want to mention that Saturn's stationing retrograde on May 23rd. And this is a big energy always, because it's a time where the Saturnian lessons that you've been working on, moving through, learning, all of that, you have to kind of go back and reflect on it. And I'll get into all of the issues with the Saturn retrograde, which is going to last until, I believe, October 11th of 2021. But the thing that's extra significant about this is that it's stationing in square with Uranus, and that's the big energy of 2021 is the Saturn-Uranus square, which is causing disruptions in the financial markets. It's causing disruptions to the energy and electric grid, which is something that I talked about in one of our new moon gatherings in the cosmic community just before it happened here in the United States as a potential. And because it was actually Raphael who asked me if that was a potential, and I was like, oh yeah. So thanks, Raphael, for bringing that up. But I was like, yeah, Uranus rules electricity, the electric grid. So Aquarius has that energy too. I think that there could be pockets. I said specifically pockets. It's not the whole grid goes down all at once. Pockets of power outages and electricity grid disruptions, and also pockets of communication disruptions, like internet disruptions or internet outages or cell towers and things like that. And I still think that that is a potential that could come back up again. With Uranus, though, it's different. So Uranus will usually not show up the same way every single time. It'll be like a different variation of a similar theme, but it's not going to be the exact same thing. So I don't necessarily think that this summer or during the Saturn retrograde or anything like that, I don't know for sure that it'll be more power outages, especially not due to ice storms, I would assume, in the United States at least. But, I do think that there could be some sort of disruption. It could be to the communications. It could be to transportation. It could be that we actually start seeing the results, the delayed results that we maybe didn't anticipate from those rolling blackouts, especially, in Texas where it was hit hardest. There could be disruptions to the food supply or something like that as a result of what happened earlier on. So that's something to just think about and consider. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen, but basically the first pass of any transit, it's going to show you the biggest energies that will be brought back up for every subsequent pass of that transit or subsequent activation. And so we had another mini activation this month. This new moon is a mini activation. Saturn stationing retrograde is a bigger activation. And then in June, we'll have Saturn squaring Uranus exact again. And that's something that we'll talk about more in detail in next month's lunar month ahead forecast in the community. But yeah, so that's part of what's going on here. And so I do want to talk about Saturn retrograde for just a moment before we move on to the eclipse. So Saturn, when it goes retrograde, it's a time where we have to, especially the first Saturn retrograde when it transits a new sign. So we had Saturn move into Aquarius in December of 2020. And since that period, we've been working on restructuring or building something brand new in the area of our lives represented by Aquarius. We've had to face new challenges. We've had to create a better, more solid foundation for the future. We've had to look at our responsibilities. We've had to look at the limitations and restrictions that we've imposed upon ourselves or that have been imposed upon us due to this Saturn or due to associated with this Saturn energy, basically. And so we've been working. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. We've been working really hard to build something and to create something and to face new challenges and to let go of old oppressive energies that no longer serve us. Now that Saturn goes retrograde, we have to take a step back and look at what we've built so far. Have we built something that's stable, long-lasting, that's serving us, that is actually a foundation for the future? Or have we built ourselves a cage or a box or something that's going to be even more burdensome or even more oppressive, even more restricting on our freedom than what we already had that we were trying to replace or we were trying to work on making changes to? So that's a big question that people are going to be needing to ask themselves and will be asking themselves. And so you might have to go back and change something. You might have to go back and fill some cracks in your foundation or completely scrap the whole foundation that you started to build and start over again. The other thing that comes up very commonly with Saturn retrograde, boundary issues. You have to look at where your boundaries lie and whether your boundaries are maybe too rigid, or more likely with these placements, where your boundaries are too loose or too scattered or unclear or all over the place. And so this is where you have to get very clear on your boundaries and draw a hard line in the sand. And so an example of this would be if your Saturn, like in this chart, is in the 7th house, where are your boundaries in relationships not sufficient? Like, where are you taking on too much burden for other people? Where are you not being clear in your boundaries with your partner? Where are you doing too much for them? And where are you not doing enough, or where are your boundaries too rigid, where maybe you're not being supportive in the way that you need to be or should be or could be? So that's a good question to start asking yourself as Saturn stations, because that's something that will come up. It'll be in your face at certain points in this transit, where it'll be very clear, like, wow, I did not have good boundaries here. I need to change this. Or, wow, my boundaries were way too rigid and I was limiting myself or limiting other people as a result of that energy. So again, something to think about and ponder for Saturn retrograde. Okay, and then the supermoon total lunar eclipse. This is where the big energy is happening. So I'm going to check in with you guys in the chat here before we move on to this. Let's see. Oh, I didn't have my screen share on, you guys. So this is what we were looking at here was this. We had charts up, but I didn't have them up for you. I apologize for that. See, this is what happens when you do things live. Okay, so anyway, how are you guys doing so far here? Positive energy. Oh, there's so many. The chat is flying by. This is intense. Okay, so this is flying by here, but it sounds like you guys are all boundaries are new, talking about boundaries. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to get back into this. This is overwhelming. This is why I do this in a small group format. Let's get back into the eclipse energy. I'm going to actually share my screen now so you can see the presentation that I thought you were looking at, which was just charts. But this is the chart for the supermoon total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is happening on May 26th, 2021. This is a big energy, you guys. Not only is this a supermoon. So first off, what is a supermoon? A supermoon is when the moon is actually at its closest point or near its closest point to the Earth, because the moon has a slightly elliptical orbit. It's not always like the same distance from the Earth. And so when we have a supermoon, it's a full moon at its closest point to the Earth. So it looks very big and very bright in the sky when it's rising. Its gravitational pull is much more intensified. It has a bigger impact on the tides and like the plant growth cycles and things like that. And it also has a bigger impact on human behavior and our emotional cycles. Those full moons that people kind of dread in the emergency departments and things like that, they don't always show up the same way. But the supermoons, my husband works in the ER, so I'm aware of this. The supermoons tend to be the worst ones. They tend to be where everything is just over the top. People's emotions are really running high, and problems can be really brought out to the surface on a psychological level, but also, and there usually is more psychological issues coming up, but also on a physical level, it like pulls things up out into the light, so you have to look at it, you have to deal with it. And this supermoon is no exception to that rule. It's also a total blood moon lunar eclipse. Hugely significant, hugely life-changing energy. These blood moons, you guys, so people say, like astrologers sometimes will say that the solar eclipses are more powerful than the lunar eclipses. And to a certain extent, I think that's true, but lunar eclipses are so powerful, so impactful. They can be massively life-changing, especially when they're hitting your chart very directly. And so in my own life, I've had a couple of very powerful lunar eclipse experiences that have completely turned my life upside down in a positive way for the most part. Like the reason that I'm here in Colorado, that we bought our home that we're living in right now, it was a total blood moon lunar eclipse in a conjunction with my natal moon. And it was like almost instantaneous manifestation. Like we were all of a sudden within a couple of days looking at houses in Colorado when we were living in Arizona, and that we weren't planning on doing that right then, and it just all happened. Luckily, I thought that new moon was going to cause us to move, or that eclipse was going to cause us to move, but it was it was definitely life-changing. It wasn't exactly what we thought it was going to be either. It was actually better, and it was so fated, so synchronistic. And the other blood moon experience that I had that was super life-changing was there was a blood moon lunar eclipse on my ascendant. So it was on my ascendant-descendant axis. The descendant represents relationships and marriage, and my husband proposed to me. And that was a very positive, life-changing experience, right? So they're not always negative, first off, because people sometimes fear eclipses. They're not always negative. Sometimes they're massively positive. And these blood moons can be so impactful. And it's usually the culmination point of something that's been building, because with a new moon, it's something brand new. It's like, I didn't even know that this was a thing. But like I mentioned before, with our big move, we knew that we wanted to move. It's been a long time coming. We felt it coming. I even saw the potential with the eclipse. I'm like, I think, sometime in this month or the next month, we're going to make a move, but I couldn't fathom how or why that was going to happen until the circumstances of the eclipse brought it out into the open and basically forced our hand. And then all of a sudden we're moving, right? So it was something that was building. And then it fully came forth or came to fruition. And like our engagement, we talked about getting married. I knew that we were going to, at some point, have this experience. And, that blood moon just brought it out into the open. And it was already a relationship that was there. It wasn't a brand new relationship. We'd been together for, only a few months, but we'd been together. And it brought this culmination point in our relationship. So kind of along that same token, this is the culmination point of something that's been building since May for all of us. And it's a major turning point. It's a major point of manifestation. Something's going to be revealed or illuminated or brought out into the open for us all, at least in a minor way. But if this is hitting your chart, if you are a mutable sign with your sun, moon, or rising in Gemini, in Virgo, in Sagittarius, or in Pisces, really anywhere from 0 to 15 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really powerfully. And I say 0 to 15 because if you have a 5-degree planet or a 10-degree planet, you're still going to feel this in the exact same intensity, because the nodes are what's being activated with any eclipse. So the node placement is important, and the eclipse placement itself is important. And so 0 to 15 degrees in the mutables, you're going to be feeling this super intensely, super powerfully. This could be a life-changing moment. And the other thing that I should mention is this is going to be a culmination point of something that's coming back around from the past, or it could be a major point of release for a lot of people because that south node energy is being activated. So it's an energy about transition and moving on, or activating or bringing forth talents or opportunities or situations from the past and bringing that back into the mix. So that could be part of this too. It's more about a release. It's a culmination, but it's almost like a culmination of something that's dying or needs to kind of, you need to kind of see it through or be done with it in one way or another. It's not like a culmination of a brand new thing, if that makes sense. And the other thing too that makes this significant is this is the first major Jupiter activation, because Jupiter is in a T-square with the eclipse. Jupiter, when it's in square with other planets, especially when it's nicely placed, like in its home sign or in its exaltation, it's in its home sign traditionally in Pisces, it brings good fortune objectively. And in traditional astrology, Jupiter squaring a planet is considered to be a benefic influence, a positive thing. And even in modern Western astrology, Jupiter squaring planets, it doesn't necessarily have that same negative impact as squares from other planets might. It's the great benefic. It does good things. It brings opportunity, and on an objective level from other people's perspective, whatever it is that you are dealing with is going to be mostly positive, or you're going to have some sort of abundance. But what this will bring and can bring, and I said this the first time around when this wasn't recorded with my cosmic community, but this is potentially for a lot of people going to bring too much of a good thing. It's like it's a reap what you've sown energy because of the south node being so activated by the full moon. So you're reaping what you've sown in this lifetime or even in a past lifetime. And it's almost like it's bringing way too much. Like it's like when you become like an overnight success and you got exactly what you wanted and it's overwhelming and it's like, oh crap, how do I deal with this, right? This is too much energy. So on a subjective level, it can feel difficult. It can feel crazy. But, from an objective outside standpoint, it's like, wow, that person just had this great opportunity and this giant, windfall or this, really crazy, uptick in their business, or they had a new relationship come in or new developments in the relationship, and it looks so great from the outside, but on the inside, yes, it's great, it's what you wanted, but it could be like, wow, how do I deal with this? And I would say that this is an energy of overreacting emotionally. There's going to be a lot of emotional overreaction between the supermoon and the Jupiter energy. People are going to be just like emoting all over the place during this supermoon on a collective level and on an individual level. And then finally, the thing that I want to mention, this is the last big energy for the lunar month ahead that I'm going to discuss, is that Mercury is stationing to go retrograde, also in Gemini on the 29th. There's so much just Gemini energy floating around in the ethers. So if you're a mutable sign, and especially if you're a Gemini, this eclipse season is going to be just a lot of rearranging, a lot of new beginnings all over the place. You're going to have a lot going on. So plan lightly, because you're going to have to go back and redo things. You're going to have to go back and revisit things. You're going to have to shift and change and pivot. You're going to have new opportunities you're going to want to take hold of. Really all of the mutable signs. So again, that's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces. You're going to want to plan, for the fact that there's going to be disruption, but in a good way. It's kind of like, oh, I have to like rearrange and do all these things because now all these new beginnings and these faded opportunities and this new path is coming up, and oh my gosh. The thing though that is going to be difficult is that you can see here in this chart that Mercury is in square with Neptune. It's going to be doing 3 squares to Neptune actually. And so the first one is coming up while Mercury is direct, and that's actually, let's see. Oops. Let me make sure that my mic is still working here because I just bumped it. Okay, you guys can still hear me. Cool. So the energy with let me find the actual date too. I had it written down. I know the second date is on June 5th, but the first date is on, okay, so on May 22nd, you'll have the first pass of this, and it's going to come back around 3 times. So you're going to have on June 5th, and another pass of this Mercury square to Neptune, and then there's another one that's happening in July. Let's see here. July. I had these written down in a list now. Now I don't know what I did with that. Yeah, July 6th. Okay, so it's June 5th and July 6th. Sorry for that little pause there. But yeah, so basically, when Mercury is in the sign of Gemini, that's its home sign, so it's stronger, it's working more positively. And while Mercury's stationing, it's with Venus, which is considered to be a positive thing, right? It makes it so you can articulate your thoughts really well, things can sound really good. But with Neptune and square, are they accurate, right? It sounds good. It sounds nice. It sounds lovely and compassionate and like a great opportunity. And, this person is so charming and I just want to believe them. And it sounds so like idealistic, but is it the truth? Is it reality? Is this really what's happening? That's going to be a big thing, especially around that Mercury station, but really this entire time period, whenever you have Neptune square Mercury, it's going to be an extra retrograding Mercury retrograde, because it's going to be like a lot of confusion. It's going to be very hard to pin down what the truth is. There's going to be so many different narratives floating around all at once, where it's like 20 sides to every story, and which one is the truth, right? And a lot of people are going to be kind of kidding themselves with a lot of this too. It's kind of like a self-deception energy, or a delusional energy almost, where you're thinking about things in terms of like the best case scenario. You're wearing those rose-colored glasses, and you might not be seeing things clearly because you're seeing what you want to see. On the opposite end, you could be scapegoating people too. This is the energy of, the martyr and the saint. So it could be that you're projecting negative energy on something that really could be very positive for you. So this is going to make decisions very difficult. There's going to be a lot of mental ambivalence, on all levels during this Mercury retrograde. This is like a terrible Mercury retrograde for getting really solid facts, figures, information about what's going on, because again, there's going to be like, I would say like hundreds of sides to every story. I mean, there usually are, but this is going to be way more apparent. And this is a time where, if it seems too good to be true, It probably is. I say that a lot with some of these Neptunian energies because you're looking at things usually more from an idealistic standpoint. Sometimes that scapegoat, sometimes that victim mentality can come into play. But more times than not, people are just seeing from this compassionate lens what they want to see, or from this idealistic lens what they want to see. What this really is good for, though, is daydreaming and visualizing and utilizing your imagination in a way that allows you to create your most idealistic future. And so this is a good time for contemplating and thinking about things and thinking creatively about the problems, the struggles, the things that you want, how you're going to create your best situation, your best life. This is a great time for creative thinking of all kinds, and creative communication too can be good. But again, solid facts and figures, not so much, right? We're not going to have the truth. We're not going to have all the facts out in front of us. And even if we do, there's too many different variations to really sort through it. So not the best Mercury retrograde for decision making. And this Mercury retrograde lasts until, I believe, June 22nd. Is when this Mercury retrograde will end. And of course, I'm going to be doing an all signs forecast for the Mercury retrograde and for a lot of these other things that I mentioned. But now you have a heads up, and you have an idea of what's coming in this month. And, so you can start planning. You can start figuring out how to navigate. Okay. So how you guys doing in the chat here? Let's see. Oh, Shanna, hi. How are you? Oh, okay. Yeah. Tracy just posted a link, you guys, because everyone's saying that you guys, that you really like the live gatherings and it's fun and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you want to participate in these live gatherings, I do them every single month for every single new moon for the members in my cosmic community. You can find the link to sign up in the cosmic community down in the description below. I will be closing enrollment temporarily for the community, so you want to get in now before the end of this month, because we're doing a major upgrade. Not because the content is stopping, because the content is flowing, and I'm doing even more content and even better content right now. Lots of new tutorials, lots of new series on astrology. That webinar is coming up, and I do lots of live gatherings. But we're doing an upgrade to the format and the website. So I am going to be closing enrollment for a little while. So if you want to have access to all of that content through the summer, now is the time to join. And yeah, let's see. Do you guys have any questions here in the chat before we sign off for the day? Mrs. Ned Kelly says, good morning from Australia. Oh, you had worrisome thoughts. I'm sorry. Yikes, all my big changes will be during the retrograde. Well, if you're a Mercury retrograde native, this is also a little bit different. It's still not a great Mercury retrograde for decision making because Neptune. But like my assistant who's in the chat right now, Tracy, she's a Mercury retrograde person. And I tend to give her a lot of like work during the Mercury retrogrades, like more than normal, because I'm like, if I do this, it's probably going to be a problem. But if Tracy does this, it usually works out during the retrogrades. So it's handy to have a Mercury retrograde person on your team or on your side. So find a Mercury retrograde friend and collaborate with them during the Mercury retrograde. That's a little tip there. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Enjoy the new moon. It's beautiful. Get out in nature if you can. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys in the cosmic community, because that's always really fun. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this.